Safety Guard Training Course, Section 9, Effective Communication. Table of Contents. 1. Communication. 2. Communication Styles Chart. 3. Types of Communication. 4. Effective and Appropriate Language. 5. Writing Clearly and Legibly. 6. Avoiding Bias. 7. Asking Questions. 8. Tactical Communication. 9. Establishing Rapport. Communication. Security guards encounter a wide range of situations and are required to act professionally under all circumstances. Guards must provide clear and concise information. Their position requires them to communicate with a wide array of individuals, both orally and in writing, and to obtain information from sources that may be unwilling. Broken down to its basics, communication conveys 3 messages: passive, assertive, and aggressive. Depending on the situation you may find yourself in, it may take any of the 3 styles to get your message across to the receiving party. Under normal circumstances, your position and authority tend to dictate that you use assertive communication, as it conveys professionalism and respect. The goal is to get your point across without intimidating the other party or turning them against you, while maintaining respect for your position. This may not always be possible, so you will find that your communication style will be very situational. Types of communication. Verbal communication. Your message and what you say are the words you speak, so choose them carefully. You want to be concise and to the point, assertive yet diplomatic. Do not use jargon. Do not create resistance in the receiver. Your verbal communication accounts for a very small percentage of the whole message. Paraverbal communication. This is the how of communication. The message is transmitted through the tone, pitch, and pacing of your voice. It is generally accepted that paraverbal communication accounts for over 30% of the message. Consider the following 3 examples. Verbally, the 3 sentences are the same. However, depending on the emphasized word, your received will interpret things differently. Note that you should never call someone stupid while working as a security guard. I did not say you were stupid. I did not say you were stupid. I did not say you were stupid. Types of communication continued. Nonverbal communication. Nonverbal messages are the primary way we communicate. Your facial expressions are the most important conveyors of emotional information. Our body posture can create a feeling of warmth and openness, or hostility and rejection. The receiver will respond to your nonverbal messages, consciously or unconsciously. Nonverbal communication accounts for over 50% of the message. Effective and appropriate language. There are 6 things to consider when using effective and appropriate language, listed below. While reading, keep in mind that swearing, name-calling, and/or using racial slurs of any kind are not acceptable at any point in time. 1. Be concise, not verbose. 2. Be concrete and specific, not vague and abstract. 3. Use familiar terms. Do not be obscure. You're not impressing anyone. 4. Be as precise and clear as possible. Avoid inaccuracy and ambiguity. 5. Make all attempts to keep your conversation constructive and not destructive. 6. Be formal where appropriate. This makes the receiver feel respected. Writing clearly and legibly. As a security guard, you will do a lot of writing, including daily reports, notes in your memo book, and brief books. It's always important to keep things neat, organized, and clear. You never know when you or someone else may need to go through your notes. Your reports will be seen by your employers and the management at your site. You want to come across as a professional at all times. As a general guide, you may use the same rules listed in the previous slide detailing effective and appropriate language, with the exception of conciseness. Here, you may elaborate on your ideas in order to convey a better picture of the situation or to expand on the message. Please remember to write down everything and do it often. Do not wait for an extended period of time to write in your memo book, as you will forget specific times and key details. Avoiding bias. Bias typically involves a leaning or predisposition on an issue that may inhibit being neutral when communicating with others. When bias exists in attitudes, it is often reflected in the language and the way in which individuals interact with each other. Language can have a significant impact on the quality of our interactions. Many times, we do not intend to exclude or offend others by the words we choose. We may simply lack information about and sensitivity to certain words or phrases. Being aware and mindful of our language, both written and oral, can help create a supportive and inclusive climate. While some basic suggestions are offered in the next couple slides, the key to effective bias-free communication is treating all people with respect and consideration, regardless of characteristics such as age, gender, gender identity, race, color, religion, national origin, height, weight, familial status, marital status, sexual orientation, disability, or political preference. Avoiding bias continued. Age. Mention age only when it is relevant. Permit people of all ages to speak for themselves, rather than assuming you know what they want. Avoid making inappropriate assumptions about people based on their age. Race and ethnicity. Avoid qualifiers that imply that all members of specific ethnic groups or races are the same. Example, suggesting that all persons of a certain ethnicity are good at athletics or math. If you specify race or ethnic origin, be certain it is relevant. Avoid language that has questionable racial or ethnic connotations. Example, you people or those foreigners. Sexual orientation. Use sexual orientation rather than phrases like the gay lifestyle or sexual preference. Use the phrase partner or spouse. When discussing families, be inclusive of families that are headed by same-gender partners or lesbian, bisexual, gay, or transgender single parents, and recognize the presence of LGBT youth in families. When using the term diversity or multicultural, and reference is made to specific groups, include lesbian, bi, gay, transgender persons in such statements. Avoiding bias continued. Ability status. Use person-first language. Example, person with a disability, student with a disability. However, avoid using the term disability as an adjective. Example, the disability community. Also avoid using adjectives as nouns. Example, the deaf, the blind, the disabled. In its place, use something along the lines of people who are deaf. Plan for and provide alternative forms of communication at events and gathering. This might include having interpreters providing written materials in print format or in Braille, and or providing oral interpretation for all visual information. Gender and gender identity. Use gender-neutral words and phrases in your language. Example, journalist, firefighter, chairperson. Avoid the use of man or woman in job titles. Address both female and male perspectives with phrases like employees and their spouses or partners. Use pronouns and references that include both genders instead of only male. Example, he or she, or women and men. Use gender rather than sex to differentiate between men and women in order to avoid describing men by profession or women by physical attributes. Asking questions. When you ask questions, make sure that you use the probing variety. Do not ask leading questions that might be inferred as taking a side or attempting to sway the point in a particular direction. Good questions to ask will get responses that stick to facts and observations rather than opinions and assumptions. The following is a good starting point to asking questions, and they are the same questions to be answered when writing reports. Who? Names of suspects, victims, complainants, witnesses, etc. What? Description of what happened, what each person involved did, what evidence is available, etc. When? Time, date, chronological account of what happened from start to finish. Where? Location where the incident took place, where each person involved was situated, where evidence was found, etc. Why? Describe the motives for what happened if they are evident. How? How the incident happened, how each person involved was acting, etc. Tactical communication. It is important to adjust a communication style to accommodate a situation or an audience. Security guards should be able to adjust their behavior and demeanor accordingly. Assisting an injured individual will not require the same communication tactics as controlling a rowdy crowd. Effective communication also ensures that security guards can be assertive without being confrontational. In any situation, it is important to communicate in a clear and concise manner. The tone, volume, and cadence with which a message is presented can have a significant outcome in how it is received by its audience. Tone, volume, and cadence are especially important when dealing with people over the telephone, where nonverbal cues are not available to help them interpret your reaction to the situation. Establishing rapport. In order to be able to communicate effectively, you must also be able to establish rapport with your audience. You may already have an idea of how to do that, but here are a few tips in case you are a bit rusty or unsure. Breathe at their pace. This creates synchronization. Mirror body language to a reasonable level. Overdoing it will seem like mocking. Tonality and pace of spoken words. Attempt to match in order to feel more familiar. Repeat and approve. Subjects will be encouraged, however, do not overdo it. Avoid leading. Do not interrupt. It may not always be possible if the other individual starts rambling on, but try to avoid unless necessary. End of Section 9. Effective Communication.